Welcome to the Bookman's Corner. I'm your host, Lois Lindstrom. We had previously been producing and distributing our TV book discussions from our Arlington, Virginia studio under the auspices of Arlington Independent Media. Today, we are pleased to announce a significant change of venue. Effective today, Bookman's Corner will be produced at the Falls Church Community TV studio in Falls Church. We'll continue our monthly half-hour format, ensuring we deliver engaging book discussions consistently. Today, we have a particularly compelling guest, E.B. Tucker, the author of Not for Sale, How to Survive and Thrive in a World That Wants to Control You. Welcome, Mr. Tucker.
Thanks for having me.
Your book, Not for Sale, offers a fascinating journey following a troubled teenager's transformation into a financially successful adult. Mr. Tucker's insights are invaluable. He's the editor of the Tucker Letter, a respected financial commentary newsletter, and the author of the book, Why Gold, Why Now? Well, you wrote that you had what professionals call severe learning impairments as a kid. Do we as a society reward mediocrity in kids and praising only the middle of the pack who stay rigidly within the lines of conformity?
That's what we want. We want good workers, good soldiers.
Yes.
You can't have soldiers that are off doing, Navy SEAL things on their own. You can't have that, but we like to read stories about that.
Yeah,
We read about these tech success people, and Steve Jobs didn't have license plate on his car, and he was such a renegade. But the kid that does that, we say, is a delinquent.
Yeah,
Don't hang out with the Tucker boy.
Yeah.
He'll get you in trouble.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I was doing all kinds of stuff, and I don't want it to seem like it was like destructively bad in the sense that I didn't burn the school down or something, but I had a lot of learning problems, and it all started in the third grade with this lady, the wife of a tobacco executive, that got upset with me because of asking why U doesn't come after Q in the alphabet.
Right.
Saying to me, this U comes after Q always, always, always. And I said, well, then why not in the alphabet? And they threw me out of class. But what happened was, I guess there was more problems. When I was 8, I didn't really know what was going on. But they sent me to a kid shrink who did all these tests. And I actually, in the book, I found the test and the report.
It was fascinating to read that.
It was a bit like emotional because I started to remember, what happened was
how you felt.
Yeah, I was removed from school, and
you're going, why me? Why am I being attacked like
yeah,
this?
I'm sure in the book that I don't want to preempt your next question, but I'm sure you caught that there was a lady that turned out to be an angel.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Now, but how should our society handle nonconformists, especially children? What should be done?
I don't know, because I have children, and I have times where I find myself saying, I am like a total monster, because I'm just kind of like...
You want discipline, you want order, right? And
yeah,
they don't want that.
And I just see their little heads full of mush, and the thing I've learned about kids having them is that 80% of what you're going to get is baked in day one. I mean, sort of they have a way, and like if you're into numbers, you're not going to be into numbers later. It's just kind of your brain is wired a certain way, and that's just what you get out of the box. And so I find myself thinking, is it really that big of a deal if this or that happens? And the answer to your audience is that I actually don't know. I think maybe awareness is the key, because maybe if you can, I think if my son is like me, for example, I think I want to say to him, I just try not to destroy everything, and just try to go through high school and not end up in prison, and you'll be fine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, in your book you wrote, don't be afraid to change everything.
Yeah.
I mean, why are transitions so important in life?
Okay, so that's I love that question, because I've the last year and a half or 2 years, I've kind of lost a lot of friends. It's very interesting. I've shed skin.
You mean losing friends mean that they died?
No, they just kind of fall away.
Fall away.
And if you let it happen, you start to realize there's nothing wrong with them, there's nothing wrong with me. Life is evolving, and new things are happening. We're changing. We're not really the same people. We if I see you with a different haircut or something, I'm thinking, oh, I have to get used to this, Lois. Yeah. But you're not the same person. We're at a cellular level, we're changing, and our energy changes.
We're always changing. We're always changing.
And if you're doing something you hate, you're wearing that emotion in some way. And then if you stop and you evolve, inevitably your energy as a person changes.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so there are going to be people that are going to say, you know, I liked you more when you were so negative, and we were complaining at the water cooler.
The other thing about your book that I found to be really riveting was your period in reform school. That was shocking. It was in Idaho, right?
I remember the day. It was July 2nd, 1995, 4 a.m. is when they got
Whoa.
me. Yeah, they got me.
And your parents had organized this so that
they paid for this.
They paid for this.
And in fairness, what happened, I mean, my parents are a bit, you know, Baptist control freak kind of personality, and I think that's, the older I get, the more I think, what would it have been like to think how they thought?
Because and you were living in North Carolina, correct?
Well, I'd escaped a regular boarding school.
Okay.
Went to Florida for a while.
Okay.
And then I told my parents I thought I should come back to Eastern North Carolina, give it a fresh start.
Where they
I
live.
dropped out of school, you know, and I didn't really have anywhere to go. And what they did is they went to this consultant that was getting a kickback from the Reform Institution.
Whoa.
And it's that all came out later. You know, there was a couple of people doing that because the kids died there and stuff. It was it was bad.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was really bad. There's a lot of documentaries about it, and so they hired these bounty hunter guys to get me, and it was strange. But the whole thing was strange. What happened is the school used this very complicated and well thought out kind of management system of the human mind. And
they put you in groups, right? You're always
teams, groups, and like these clusters, and they have it all. They have see, if you want to control people, you have to put them into all these categories, and it's kind of like a bureaucratic system. You see this as well. Give everybody a number and a rank and everything.
And you go here, and you go. That's
right. You have privileges of the rank and all that stuff, but not just one series of ranks. You had within your team, you have all these ranks. Within your peer group, you have then you're going through these behavior modification experiences where they keep you up all night, and they have
which was horrible.
Primal scream therapy by Jenov.
And then people were crying, and people were just
worse than that. Yeah, I mean you're screaming and
going crazy, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and the theory is that we'll knock you down and then kind of build you in these different ways.
But some of you, of course, you survived it mentally and emotionally, but some don't, right?
I don't know if it was good to survive it, because I think about it all the time, and I think about what was really going on was a lot of cognitive wiring going on at that time, and some of the things that I did to survive, I don't think are very good. I mean, I developed this unbelievably keen skill of sensing things in people, you know, because you have these group sessions where you're being indicted, and it's a part of the behavior management. It's 3 hours every other day.
Whoa.
And it's administered by 2 uncertified, like kind of just regular people that work at the school. You know? It's very intense, and you'd have disrupted bowels, and you'd be very nervous, because when they put you in the group, you would think, wonder why I'm in this group, is something going to happen.
Yeah.
And you do that every other day for 30 months, and you either one or two things happens. You either crack, or you develop survival mechanisms that I'm not sure. Everything it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. So that's what I did. I mean, I just became keen with that.
Well, now, in my case, if I'd been in a situation like that, I'd be praying every night for help.
Right, celestial help. Yeah, that wouldn't work, Lois. they had that figured out. But you couldn't run away. Just to be clear with everybody, this place was in Bonners Ferry, Idaho. If we have any Google Map people, it was about 10 miles to the Canadian border.
Yeah.
It was right where Randy Weaver was. You remember this Janet Reno thing that went on in Naples, Idaho? It was right there. And so you could not run away. I mean, it was impossible. People did run away, and nobody ever made it.
And there are wild animals out there, and there's
you just
freeze to death. Yeah.
Yeah, like a kid ran away that was diabetic, and then had a diabetic shock, and I mean, it's just stuff like that would happen, and they'd haul him back and put him in a jumpsuit, and then they'd give you a work assignment for, they had it all figured out. But the point is that when I think about that, I have this odd acceptance for the situation, because I just think, well, what are you going to do? I mean, it is what it is.
I know, and you can't change the past. You have to say it happened, and I got through it.
And there's some things that I don't want to say are benefits, but I find that there's things that'll happen that I'm remarkably okay with dealing with.
Good for you.
I think, if that didn't happen, but
but that was incredible. Well, the other thing, you've got so much in your book. You had an incredible, interesting real estate career. Tell us about buying foreclosures And then 12 years later, you had basically made a fortune.
Well, a moderate, a small fortune, but then I took the small fortune and did something else with it. But what happened was, what I want people to understand is that, because I get really kind of fatigued with, in America, the whole, like, I had this thing and rags to riches. Not like that. In my 20s, I was trying to be a salesman, and I was very good at it. And I made money, and I was doing, I was in finance stuff, but not like Wall Street totally. It was a little bit different sales capacity. And saved up money, bought stocks, did very well, saved up, I don't know, 300 grand or something like that. Not like a small amount of money, but not like a huge amount of money. And I got fired, and I started writing.
Yes.
And the reason why that's very important is because, for me, writing forced me to not just be bloviating at cocktail parties, to really, you have to crystallize your thoughts.
You do.
You get really serious.
That's right.
Yeah, people reading this stuff, they're going to lampoon you if you're wrong. And so it started to occur to me, I'd done all these trades with the housing-related stuff, and it was booming, against it. I learned a lot.
What years was this?
That was like 6 and 7.
2006 and
7. I was
2007.
doing lots of investing, and I had been saying something's got to be wrong here. We were chipping at this, but unsuccessfully. We were learning though.
What amazed me was that you would go. The house would be worth $175,000.
Yeah.
And you'd go, I'll give you $30,000 for that.
They laughed at that. But I got to that point because writing in 08, 9, it started occurring to me that we were going to go through this period where there would be so many houses for sale that it was the once in a lifetime opportunity to be a landlord.
Okay.
So I started writing, well, how do you become a landlord? Not just like the basics of it, but how do you buy a house with the intention of making money renting it, which nobody ever did because of the boom years.
Right. And then of course you still have to fix up the house.
Correct. You have to do CapEx. So I made a little Excel model, myself. You made this little thing, and then I would drive around and write down all the places for sale and look at them, look in the windows and try to break in, because there were all these boarded up homes. And then I would put them all in the model and just go all night. So I would drink coffee and do these things. I'd do like 100 of these things and make all these offers, and nobody would take them. And I stuck with that, and then they all started working.
They started
taking it. So the whole 300 grand.
And that was because it was because of the 2008 crash, right?
Well, they held on. See, what happens, Lois, when something goes down is that people don't sell until the bottom. Then they freak out and they leave. And so that's what happened. Is Deutsche Bank and all these banks, they finally just lost their mind and sold all these things for next to nothing. And I have all the, so I spent pretty much the whole 300 grand on this stuff. And it ended up being 1,000% return.
I know.
But it was a bit slow. At first it bought me freedom because I was writing.
But you were a landlord, right?
I had
a lot of people.
No debt.
No debt.
Right. And then I learned so much that there were a couple of investors that gave me $3 or $4 million to put to work. I don't like what the Fed's up to. I don't like, this was February of 2022. I don't like this first shot of Ukraine thing. Okay? All this happened in one car ride. I called this lady, Julie, and I said, I think I want to sell one of these houses. She's a high-end realtor. She's like, well, those things are like, a workplace, like they're not really in the gated community.
Right.
Would you list one of them? Okay, so she listed one of them, and then I called her back 2 days later when I had signed everything, and I said, I want to list all of them.
And what'd she say? Yay, right?
Are you sure? Because she said, I think real estate's going to just cool off briefly and then go more. And I said, doesn't matter, I'm over it, I'm done. Sold them all. Now, everybody says...
You sold them quickly though, right?
Probably like
in 30
8 weeks.
8
weeks. Because one sold in 4 weeks, one sold,
6 weeks,
it was fast. It was, but all of them were tied up.
And were they small houses?
Single family houses. One of them was like 6-bedroom. One of them was 2-bedroom.
And they were all in Florida, right?
They're all in Florida, yeah.
And were they in Tampa or were they in?
Sort of. They're kind of like that western, central. We tried to stay a little bit tight with a geographic zone, but that was the market. You got to know one market area. You can't buy like one in Texas and one. It's too hard.
You got to be where you are.
And then if you call your plumber, you want him to go to two places at once.
And you're in Florida at that time.
In Florida, yeah. Well, I had gotten very busy. I was like not interested at all in dealing with any of the headaches, and not like too good for that. I was just thinking this phase of my life. See, the thing, Lois, is I don't think you can hold on to stuff for longer than you're supposed to hold on to it.
Okay.
And so I think doing impulsive things sometimes
Is a good thing.
Is good because where does that impulse come from?
Right, right.
And so in this, everybody thinks that it was market timing because it did happen to be. Those houses will never come back to that price.
No, it was a great
It was
great
the
deals.
post-COVID.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You were in a rural community, basically.
Yep.
So
Eastern North Carolina, tobacco town.
Okay.
And my family was somewhat notable there. I mean, my grandfather was a kind of a, king-like guy in the area.
and he owned a furniture store, right?
He did. He had a couple furniture stores.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
so-
you could buy here, pay here. You
Yeah,
go in
right,
and
right.
make payments, and
Yeah,
we
that's
would come
right.
take the furniture away if you didn't pay.
Yeah.
And I did that when I was a kid.
And
That's my upbringing. So I when my friends were at the beach or playing leisure sports, I would spend the whole summer working because for me the work was better than school.
Because you got paid. And you-
100%.
And you love getting the money.
And I loved everything about it. I remember I worked in the warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
and we had this gang of hooligan guys that worked there, Big Mike and Little Mike. I think they've all been to prison. I learned everything, Lois. They taught me about everything. I knew all the music. I knew
That's right. That's right.
everything. So I go back to school, and my friends were like, they didn't understand. They didn't know what I was talking about.
Right, right.
All, what I've been doing all summer, and
Yes.
so that was my. But it taught me about business.
Yes,
You know?
you are a salesman, and you were working in the furniture store. It was your grandfather's store, right? And then you
Yep.
were selling mattresses. And
Right.
I love the anecdotal stories of selling mattresses. I mean,
Yeah.
you were whipping those things out.
They paid you cash. What happened is the mattress in the store is the only thing where they'll give you like a $20 bonus
Okay.
cash from the manufacturer if you back in the day. If
Okay.
you did. So they would come in and look and they'd say, well, EB sold 6 mattresses, you get $120. And I'm like, this is like, it wasn't even taxed back then.
Wow.
It was like an extra, it's called a
Really-
spiff.
A spiff. Really
I couldn't
great.
believe it. I was like, why isn't everyone doing this? Well, because it's hard.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to buy a mattress because nobody can see. You don't need any social credit for it.
That's right.
Right.
And no one sees it. That's right.
Yeah.
It's covered
So my strategy was if I get the wife
to lie down.
to lie down on it,
And you got the best mattress
sold.
out there, right?
It's sold. I mean, they're coming back. That's because you're gonna go home and say, you know what?
I felt great.
the
right?
best mattress I've ever felt. Yeah.
Well, that's I think about when I bought the mattress. It was the best feeling
Yeah.
ever. Now, can you tell us the story of setting up a date to meet a big publisher in Baltimore,
Yeah.
and what it took to finally get him to meet you? Because he was really tough to get a meeting with. How did you do
He
it?
literally ditched me at the first meeting, and it wasn't like a personal thing. I think he had made the meeting, and then I was on his radar, and it's demoralizing.
It is demoralizing. So
Yeah.
you thought you wasted all this time waiting.
But
for
I
him.
had this guy that helped me that passed away
Mm-hmm.
a couple years ago that was really a lot older than me. He was the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce in Tampa, Florida, and he loved me, and he used to have me over for cigars and coffee and have me just tell him what's going on in the world, and he could just, it was like his way of getting an edge. He'd go to a meeting the next week and he'd talk. And I called this guy, I was so upset, and he said, you know what, man, he's like, do something else.
That's right,
Like,
that's right.
do something else.
Ignore
Put
it.
Put on a nice shirt and go to like some place. You're there for the night anyway.
Yeah.
Go to some other place and socialize and see what's going on. And that's what you need to hear from the mentor, because what the mentor is saying is flow with it. Because I did end up meeting that guy.
Yeah.
And
it was a better time to meet him, right?
yeah, because he needed my help, and he ended up hiring me, and we have stayed friends, and we had a great business relationship.
That's
And if
great.
I had said, you must meet with me,
You're right.
Now,
or you disappointed me.
you insulted me,
Yeah.
then I don't think the next thing would have happened.
No, it wouldn't have. Yeah,
That's right.
That's right. Right. That's good. You wrote that so many people think that being on the corporate ladder can be the direct opposite of finding your bliss. I mean, why is it being on the corporate ladder so tough? Because you worked in this corporation in New York.
Couple times, a couple corporations. Yeah, I mean, it's not been good.
And why was it so bad?
I think because of me. I don't fit in their organization. What I find is, okay, I try to explain this delicately because there will be corporate people reading this, but the corporate chieftain has to spends most of the day protecting his or her power.
Okay.
And so it changes from running the business and growing the business to becoming nervous that anything
like a bureaucracy.
That's right. Anything that's coming up the ranks, but I'm not trying to take their job.
Okay.
Like I would say, It doesn't make any sense what we're doing here. It's not going to work. And they would become threatened by that, and then they would try to have like this surreptitious campaign to
get rid of you.
Slowly. They would have me try to step in potholes and stuff.
Right.
And I notice that it happens all the time, and it's always going to happen, and I'm not a fit for the corporate
world
system. Some people are a fit for that. Now, what you're in an enclosure, and you behave well, and you get a guaranteed mediocre outcome.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find much bliss in the corporate system. And people are terrified to not be in it. And they have all these things they've come up with. Like, you got to have medical insurance. But you actually don't have, it's not like a rule that you have to have medical insurance.
Really?
Just saying. I mean, we believe that, but
we do.
It's like, do you really have to do, if you played that out to the psychological kind of extreme, the philosophy of the whole thing, you have all these rules.
Okay.
And these are all designed to make you feel safe.
Okay.
And so what I'm saying is that I had scenarios where things became unsafe because of being stomped out.
And then I thought another thing interesting takeaway from your reading your book is the importance of writing down goals in your life.
All the time.
You know, I never thought that was important, but after I read your book, I thought, I should have been
already today. I've done it. And
what did you write today?
I'm not going to tell you, because you cannot tell someone your goals, because it's very sensitive. Because no two people will have the same goal.
I see.
And what happens is that you've got this supercomputer that's bolted to your head. The human brain is so powerful.
Fantastic,
we don't even use 8% of it. I think maybe less than that, even the smartest people. We don't know how to use it. And so I think you can program your mind to achieve the goals in your life. Now, I don't like to call it this ridiculous new age names to a manifestation. It's not true. It's not like that. You don't just decide some far out thing that you want to do. It's not like that. What it is that you think about, what do I actually want? And what do I need to do to get there? And then you come up with a
plan.
Yeah, and it's not the action steps. Let's just use weight, for example. So let's say that you're someone, it's a man that's 225 pounds, and the doctor tells you you're too heavy, your BMI is too high, whatever. You're going to get a health condition.
That's right. You need to go down to 200.
And you say, boy, I sure would love to lose some weight. Now, this gives you permission to eat donuts, because it's like a wish. And so the way you set the goal is you say, I weigh 200 pounds. And people say, well, that's not true because I weigh 225. Okay, but I'm telling you is that your subconscious mind is going to focus on what you believe.
Okay.
And most of us as humans don't believe in these things we say we hope. What it is we wish and hope, and then we resent people that have something else.
We do.
That's right. And so you set these goals.
And do you read them
specific.
every night? Do you read them?
I write them. I write them down.
Write them down in a special little book or something?
Well, I just have other, I just keep all the time Japanese notepad going, and I burn one up and put it to the side, never go back and read them. And what I think it is that your subconscious mind takes instructions. And it's what you believe about yourself. For example, with your relationships, or any parts of your life, or the way you treat your kids, or how you look, or
how to improve. I mean, people are always trying to improve themselves.
Sort of, but they're almost kind of like join a gym and have the keychain, and it just doesn't make any sense. And like in tennis, it's the same thing. I'm always setting my goal just a touch above where my play is.
So what would be a goal? I'm going to win.
No. You've got to be first person present tense, as you already have it. So I'd say I am a 4.0 tennis player. But really I'm a 3.5.
Okay.
But I say I am a 4.0 tennis player. And people say, but you're not a 4.0 tennis player. But I will be. But my subconscious mind, because the last thing I want to say about this is that what happens is your subconscious mind sees everything in this studio, and your conscious mind is ignoring that all, right?
Yeah.
So your subconscious mind sees the opportunities as they come in. And in tennis, for example, it's very instantaneous. You don't have time to think about moving a certain way and doing these different things. It's what you believe. So you don't get up to the line and say, oh boy, I probably am going to fault.
No.
You never do that.
No.
You go, this person's going down. That's what you think, and your serve accuracy, everything is you believe. And so, how do you believe? Well, you have these affirmative statements that are personal. Don't share them, because I might say, "Oh, Lois, your 3.5 is your goal. That's nothing." Okay, well now your subconscious will recoil. like a flower going back into its shell.
Okay.
That's right. So it's personal.
It's personal. So
I think not even your spouse.
Okay, so just keep it personal. Okay.
Personal, and because this is your brain, we have this notion in America that we have to like know you can't know every part of someone. You're constantly thinking all this crazy stuff, and it's okay. You can love someone for their uniqueness, and you can let them have their own goal-setting exercise. You're getting better together. You're enjoying life on a superhighway.
I'm concerned about the financial markets and the upheavals we're going through and everything. I mean, are you worried about this year?
No,
you're not.
But I will say that it's not crazy to be worried because there's been a change, and a lot of people are just freeze in place when there's a change.
That's right.
They don't do anything. And
what should they do?
Well, we talked about that in the last 2 issues of the letter. I mean, you've got to stop. Like if you dressed for skiing and you all of a sudden you're in a beach setting, you got to stop and assess the situation and say, what outfit do I need
to wear now?
Correct, because I'm going to a party at the beach, and if I show up with ski bibs, it's not going to look right.
No.
And I feel like people have a really hard time doing that for a lot of different reasons. I mean, I wrote this week about what I did is I went back to 2010. Do you remember Occupy Wall Street?
Yes.
Ron Paul Revolution.
Yes.
Tea Party movement.
Yes.
We're going to go broke. Okay, the stock market at that time was worth $15 trillion. Yes. The whole stock market in the United States. Now it's $60 trillion.
Whoa.
Okay. Now, at that time, everybody was telling you you cannot be in the market.
That's right.
And now everyone's telling you you have to be in the market.
That's right.
Okay, so what I tend to do is I'll take something someone tells me. Be careful what you tell someone that writes a big newsletter. And I'll take that conversation and do what we just did.
Okay.
Which is then I'll go back on a little tangent about 2010, something I remember.
Okay.
Like going to the Wall Street Bull. There was people occupying it. They're defacing it.
That's right.
So what changed? We got used to this. Okay, well that just changed.
That's right.
So you're going to have to change with it.
That's right.
And so my point is, we'll talk about one current thing. Okay, we have these automobile tariffs.
Right.
What it means is people are telling me they go to the auto dealership to do something with their lease or whatever, and the whole value has changed because the parts are going to cost more.
Right.
So what should you buy? Parts company.
Well, it's been great talking to you, and you're a super guest on our show. And I want you to tell our viewers where they can find your book, Not for Sale, to purchase it.
Yeah, Not for Sale, and I've got another book as well. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any local bookstore can order it for you. Just tell them E.B. Tucker, they'll right away be able to get it for you. They might have it in stock. They can definitely get it for you.
Well, E.B., and I have to ask, what does E.B. stand for?
That's the legal name.
That's the legal name.
They knew I was going to be a writer, and my grandfather was GS. Serious, yeah.
Very cool.
GS
Very
Tucker,
cool.
yeah.
Thank you for watching. Please join us again next month for a new edition of the Bookman's Corner. I'm Lois Lindstrom.